Morning. We'll be talking about a young American patriot today that got thrown out of school for being a young American patriot. Good morning. How are we today? How you doing?
I think my lower steering shaft is going bad on my car.
Oh dear.
That's how I'm doing. When you were like, "Where are you?" I was Googling and I was reading and I was doing a sad. I was doing a big sad.
Have you called Marshall or Marquise yet?
At 6:30 in the morning.
Well, you sent him a text message.
Look, I'm just telling you, like that's
not too bad. That's not too bad.
No,
it's not great.
No, it's not a Kia.
It's about a $50 part.
Well, no, it's a Nissan Altima. What I read is that it's more like a $150 part, and that's the part. For all I know, it's an 8-hour job. So that's how I'm doing this morning.
I bet you Marquise get you taken care of in half an hour for $300.
Yeah, either way, I don't.
We have the shade tree mechanic at Marshall.
I wondered why we sounded so weird.
Oh, we're sorry about that. Good call. Good call. Moving.
Yeah, man.
I spent so much time fixing the sound this morning.
It's like, why do we sound like the microphone is too far away? Oh.
Well, we've got this great shade tree mechanic, Marshall, and Marshall is an old brother from Detroit. Used to work in the Ford plant, and now, like, Marshall's one of those MacGyver guys when he starts putting cars together. It's pretty impressive, and his son Marquise does most of our work now, and he's grown up doing it, so. They take good care of us. Anyway, so we're talking about this young man named Jaiden, and we don't know Jaiden's last name. And if anybody does, we're talking about a 12-year-old boy, so first name will be sufficient. Jaiden is a student at the Vanguard School in Colorado Springs, which is a charter school. So the story is that Jaiden has some patches on his backpack. And the teachers took exception to these patches and decided to remove him from class. Now, here's the thing. That is censorship. Now, we're talking about a school. A school can have a dress code, sure. A school can have rules about what is and is not allowed to be displayed. Okay, fair enough. But you must always remember that a school, a public school, which a charter school is a publicly funded school, right? What makes them a charter is that they have a set of bylaws which exempts them from certain policies related to the accountability of government schools. And the idea is that a charter school is supposed to give those teachers the opportunity to explore some experimental organization and pedagogy. Because that's a good idea, because quite frankly, our public schools are failing. And this is actually a great example of the failure of the public schools, because the argument put forward by the administrators and the teacher that decided to violate the rights of this young American is that we find the Gadsden Flag offensive because of its ties to slavery and its representation and defense of slavery. There's something wrong with that.
Well, everything's slavery, Chris. Everything's racism. Everything.
And it really is this simple. You're talking about a bunch of liberal academics who the extent of whose historical education is everything white people like is evil. All the things that white people like represent slavery. Mayonnaise, for example, is slavery.
Milk
is racist because black people have a higher incidence of lactose intolerance.
Well, this is one of those things where it dilutes the meaning of the word racist. Like, I used to get really offended at being called racist, and now it's just happened so often. It's like, oh, golly, you're literally like the 599th person to incorrectly call me racist. It just, it doesn't,
right.
It doesn't hit the same anymore.
I look at a person who uses the word racist as a functional pejorative in argument, and I see them essentially the same way as I see a person who's currently wearing a mask. This is somebody who can't tell salt from cyanide by tasting it.
Well, that's probably not the method you want to use, because you only get to be wrong once, maybe twice if it's very small amounts of cyanide.
In fairness, if you know, you know.
I'm just.
But I mean,
you could smell it. The cyanide would method. Smell like nuts. Like it's.
That is the scientific method. Fuck around and find out.
Well, and also, it just shows how intellectually lazy these teachers are, because they had to jump straight to the slavery thing. They could say that it was provocative. They could say that it was political speech. They could say that it was associated with all of these things that the news media has worked really, 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 really hard to associate that kind of iconography with. Like, they could have said, oh, it's Proud Boy imagery. Man, but this kid's based. Is that really the back?
That's the back of his backpack. So here's the back of the kid's backpack. And let's see if I can... not that one.
But the thing is they could have made an argument. Hey, thanks. Oh, I thought somebody bought us a coffee. It just says support me.
Yeah, that's just the link so you guys can go buymeacoffee.com/brushfiremind. But yeah, here's the back of the kid's backpack. I'm gonna turn us off for a second so you can see it better.
Anyhow, I stopped myself, but super long story short, and Pit Danny says they're NPCs. Yes, that's total NPC logic. They actually could have made arguments for telling this kid to take this kid off his backpack, and I don't necessarily, I'm not saying it's a good thing to tell the kid to take the Gadsden flag off your backpack, because, I mean, good Lord, is nothing sacred? Obviously not, but still, but at the same time, like, ooh, it's slavery, it's racist, it's... Right. Oh, okay, I already know I'm dealing with absolute intellectual fucking lightweights.
Well, and as far as the law is concerned, okay, you want your policy to prevent somebody from having a Gadsden flag on their book bag. In order to do that, your policy has to be content neutral. So it would have to be something like you cannot have patches on your backpack. No display of any kind. I would go so far as to say that in a case like this, the immediate reaction, the immediate response should have been parents swarming the school and insisting, okay, bring all the children out onto the football field with their backpacks right now. Because if this kid's being thrown out for having a patch on his book bag that the administration finds politically offensive, I had better not find one My Body, My Choice, or Get the Vax You Murderer, or LGBTQ
Rainbow
flag.
yeah.
Yeah, one rainbow flag, one pro-choice, one anything. If there is a single item on any other backpack that displays a counter message, that displays a Democrat or liberal support message, then it's proof positive that what's happened here is this boy has been targeted for content-specific censorship.
So to be fair, man, look at that backpack. He might have made himself a target. Look at it.
No, I agree. I don't agree.
I'm not saying it makes it okay. I'm just saying, like, you tend to catch flack when you're over the target.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like,
that is correct. And I had a better picture earlier when I was working on the thumbnail where you could read the individual stuff here. Part of the complaint says that among the patches there's references to firearms. The only actual reference to firearms in here at all, this black patch right here just above the Gadsden flag says the right to keep and bear arms and Bitcoin 2020.
Okay, that's funny. I mean, like, his handmade sign actually says based.
Yes.
I mean, let's be honest.
With a bubble letter capital B.
Let's be honest. Yeah, it's a butt. It's absolutely a butt. Yeah, like that's, I mean, I wouldn't meet this kid's parents and buy him a beer. No, let's be honest. This kid's parents, I want to buy him a bottle of whiskey and give him a steak. Like,
well, I want to buy him a steak and a beer or steak and a whiskey and sit him down and explain to them that, hey, it looks like you're trying to do right, but it's time to get this boy out of the abuse program. This is another clear example of the reasons that it's not important to it's not sufficient that you homeschool your children. It is time to abolish the federal education system. Board of Education should be abolished. It is an abuse of government authority. It has been taken to be abused specifically by anti-American activists. Notice I didn't say leftist activists in this. I mean specifically activists whose primary interest is to eliminate elections. They're teaching your children things like the Electoral College is something that's rooted in slavery and racism. And
well, it's not fair because land doesn't vote. People do.
Land doesn't vote. People do. And of course, that completely ignores the whole point to the Electoral College, which is, okay, listen, if you cram 50 million people into Los Angeles, they should not be allowed to vote away the water usage rights of the farmers in the surrounding counties. Because, let me say, that's a thing that's happened. Right? Tom Cruise needs to have his hot shower, and that means that you can't have food. That's what the Electoral College is there to prevent. So, going back to what a charter school is, and the organizational paradigm is significant because on the face of it, the charter schools were a good idea to begin with, but the fact is they are government schools, and they tend to also, like the other government abusive prison systems or public schools, but I repeat myself, they are staffed by what amount to government employees. These teachers are government employees. That means government agents, which means that the thing that was done to this young man is the deprivation of civil liberties under color of law. A violation of the law, a serious federal law, right? You've heard me mention this one on the show many, many times. U.S. Code 18, Section 242, deprivation of civil liberties under color of law, punishable with up to and including prison or death. Now, I am not making the argument that what these teachers did rises to the bar of the death penalty, as much as I might have an emotional attachment to that idea, but what they have done absolutely rises to the level of punishment of some kind under Section 242, and what level that punishment rises to is legally for a judge and a jury to decide. What is clear, however, is that they have in fact violated that law. They've committed a very, very serious federal crime, and they will suffer no consequences for that crime. Right? That's unacceptable. And that is one of the things that we need to be focused on. When you have government agents, right, you should look at public school teachers no differently than you do postal workers, police officers, or any other non-elected government official. If they commit a crime, they need to be held accountable. A teacher removing a child from class over a business card-sized patch on his backpack, violating his First Amendment right to free speech, is no different than a police officer, legally, than a police officer searching your vehicle without a warrant, consent, or probable cause. It is a violation. It is a deprivation of your civil liberties under the color of law. And the reason that law is so important, that those violations of your civil liberties are so significant, is that rights cannot be unviolated. Right? Cop searches your car illegally, you get him in court. Okay, let's say he found evidence that you committed a crime, and fruit of the poisonous tree, it's thrown out, that evidence doesn't count, the cop gets reprimanded. He still searched your car. He still took away your time and your liberty, even if only briefly, as a result of his committing a crime. If he is not at least placed on unpaid administrative leave for a period, then there has been no justice done. Something like this, these teachers have failed this young man, have violated his rights, committed a serious federal crime as a result, and this is key here. I'm getting to the back down bit in just a second here, Xander Mack. I've got the school's letter too. But it's insufficient. There was a win here. The school did back down, but these teachers still have their jobs. The fact is, everybody involved in removing this young man from class should be barred from the profession of educator for the rest of their lives. They are not competent to the task. You have educators violating a young man's rights rooted in their ill education. A part of the problem here is that the educators themselves are poorly educated. They have no grounding, no foundation in history. And for that reason alone, they should be barred from the service, right?
I'm going to devil's advocate just briefly. Just based on that kid's backpack, and I mean, he looked like a walking Pepe meme. Can we, okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
What do you think the odds are that once the problem started, he's intelligent enough and socially aware enough to realize, oh, just a little thumb on the scale here, and just a wee bit of trolling there, and maybe just one or two cheeky little fucking comments here and there to further inflame the situation to push it to this point? I don't, I'm not saying I think the school was right. I don't. Come on, man. You're kicking a kid out over literal American iconography. You're in the wrong. But at the same time, it's not hard to see a world where, like, for example, there are people that are like, oh my God, you know, the American flag makes me feel triggered and everything. I was the kind of kid who might be like, oh, really? Oh, the nose say, can you see? I would have pushed back and tried to pick the fight. So, you know, just, there might be a bit of that happened here. In fact, I suspect there was a bit of that happened here.
Okay, and so at the end of that conversation, you're still talking about somebody choosing to violate this young man's First Amendment right.
So, but then that's the other thing. It's government buildings. Like when you go into the biggest example is when you walk into a courthouse, you walk through a metal detector, and they disarm you.
Yes, and that is illegal, but it is in force under threat of death. It's illegal, but it is what it is.
And Xander jumped me to where I was going, was in that same vein, that schools have a lot of latitude over dress code policy. They've got a lot of latitude.
But Xander Mack, you're coming in late today. I've already addressed this. A dress code has to be content neutral. This is not. This is very explicitly content specific. If there's a single Pride Progress flag in the building, then this is a clear violation. And it really is that simple.
Well, even the Pride
dress
thing,
code must be content neutral because it's a matter of censorship. There are censorship laws which are tolerated by the courts, time, place, and manner restrictions.
But even the Pride flag thing, though. Thank you, Justice Kennedy, who basically wrote in his decision on gay marriage, this is not just a legal issue, this is an ethical issue, and I'm paraphrasing an entire Supreme Court decision, but Justice Kennedy said, you know...
Why not? It's a Supreme Court decision that paraphrased the, nothing. Let's just legislate from the bench because fuck your Constitution.
But literally, the Supreme Court, and Justice Kennedy wrote in summary, that this is not just a legal issue, this is a right and wrong issue, and the fact that gay marriage is not already legal across the country is wrong, so we're going to right that wrong. So somebody could even make the case like, hey, a pride flag is not a political symbol. A pride flag is a moral symbol, which, you know, to you and I, so that makes it worse, not better. However, based on the standards that are probably in this charter school's bylaws, doing something for moral reasons is different from doing things from political reasons.
I
mean, it's like I said, Xander jumped me to my point. I was going that there's all sorts of things.
No, I can see the argument being made because it is an unintelligent argument to hold that the Pride Progress flag is somehow not a symbol of political position. Correct.
I mean, I'm not okay with that, but still. And I mean, he had the
Well, okay, so I'm right right enough on this issue that the school backed down, which is to say that the school's lawyers said, whoa. Y'all about to cost us all the grants. y'all about to get us shut down. Right? So Colorado School's Gadsden Flag ban overturned after student goes viral. The Colorado Springs school that sparked conservative outrage after telling a 12-year-old boy he had to remove a patch displaying the Gadsden flag from his backpack due to its origins with slavery, which has reversed course, saying he can continue to bring it to class. Right? Is it a Muslim flag? You want to talk about a symbol that has its roots in slavery?
Yeah, like that movie, The Woman King, that literally made the good guys the bad guys. I mean, the bad guys the good guys. Anyhow.
In an email sent to the families of students at the school, the board said, "From Vanguard's founding, we have proudly supported our Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the ordered liberty that all Americans have enjoyed for almost 250 years until we came along." The Vanguard School recognized the historical significance of the Gadsden Flag and its place in history. The incident is an occasion for us to reaffirm our deep commitment to a classical education in support of these American principles. Like, for example, U.S. history. Gadsden Flag is a Revolutionary War symbol. It's not even a Civil War symbol, right? So even if you're one of those psychopaths that's dedicated to the idea that the Civil War was about nothing but slavery, it's not even from that war that you don't understand. The Gadsden Flag features a coiled rattlesnake on a yellow background along with the slogan, "Don't tread on me," and was a symbol of defiance to British imperial control, which is why it has 13 rattles for the colonies, dickheads. Although Gadsden was an enslaver, the rattlesnake on the flag refers to Benjamin Franklin's famous 1754 print, "Join or Die," promoting colonial unity during the French and Indian War. Ironically, in view of the flag's modern history, the service that used the flag during the Revolutionary War was the Continental Navy, perhaps 10% of whose sailors were African American. Right? So, anyway, they had to give it up.
Yeah, they had to give it up. Here's what I wonder, though. If it was anything other than the Gadsden Flag, and maybe a handful of other particular things, like, if it had been, I don't know, let's say, a MAGA patch.
Right.
But no, this kid went viral over the Gadsden Flag. Like, part of this was the optics.
Yeah.
Part of this was the law. But I don't know if you've noticed, but Democrats don't give a shit about the law lately.
Well, there are no consequences.
Ask Donald Trump.
Like I mean, Zandermack pointed out, there won't be any repercussions. That's right. The left can violate your children and your rights without any consequences, without any repercussions at all. They count on that. I'm not going to talk about the McMichaels and Arbery case generally, but I want to take you back to when we saw that. And part of what happened there is we saw these protesters, we saw these BLM activists come out and make active vocal threats against the prosecutors in that case, who had found in that case that it was such a clear-cut case of self-defense in the course of a lawful citizen's arrest, wherein the potential arrestee, the intended arrestee, the identified suspect of serious crime, attacked the citizens and died for his trouble. The prosecutors, from the get-go, said, this is clear-cut self-defense. There is no case to be brought here. They were attacked, abused, and threatened by hordes, by mobs of BLM activists. And recused, the first one recused himself, the second one, the third one. There were three or four prosecutors that recused themselves from that case after all having come to the same conclusion based on the evidence that there was no crime committed there by the McMichaels. Right? And the BLM activists just kept pounding them and pounding them and pounding them until they found a black political activist prosecutor on the opposite side of the frickin' state that said, yeah, I don't give a shit what the law is. I'm happy to go hang some white boys. And I said back then, and I thought, I honestly thought, and I think I said as much, that I think I'm being hyperbolic here, but it looks to me like the objective is to establish a United States where people of a certain identity or political affiliation are simply immune from the law. They're explicitly permitted to commit crime without consequence.
And the inverse also, that if you even come close to committing a crime,
if you're white or conservative, then we will make up crimes to target you with. Since I said that, and like I said, when I said that, at the time I said that, I thought I was being hyperbolic to make an exaggerated point. But since then, we saw the January 6th situation where they literally fabricated police deaths that did not occur in order to hang those deaths on peaceful protesters. Right? We saw the McMichaels get convicted of that crime as if they had committed a crime. And that took a judge interfering with the law and explicitly instructing the jury to misinterpret the law. He explicitly instructed the jury to ignore the part of the law which protected the McMichaels. He said, basically, that would only apply if it was a black Democrat who had attempted a citizen's arrest. And we know that it shoots that way because there was another incident around the same time. A black man, concealed carry license holder, was carjacked by a white guy, and the black guy got out, drew his gun, subdued the white guy, called the police, and it was and conducted a citizen's arrest. Okay.
Don't finish your point.
There have been several instances since then. The Hunter Biden case, Joe Biden bribery scandals, Joe Biden's stolen top secret documents versus Donald Trump's lawfully acquired top secret documents. The unequal application of the law has become not just a thing that we observe occurring on occasion, but the law of the land, the general activity. So the damn it, I got distracted when I glanced at the comment. I kind of lost the thread of my point there. The thread of my point there is that the lefties, the anti-Americans, they're conducting a coup. They're engaged in open election interference without consequences. They're engaged in active crime, up to and including murder and the destruction of not just property, private property and federal property. Right? And these activities go on without any consequence. If there are no consequences for the crimes being committed by one political side, then the fact is that the police, the entire Department of Justice, the entire law enforcement apparatus, in fact, the entire law has been illegitimized by its one-sided application. The 14th Amendment requires equal justice under the law, and that has been vitiated by political activists.
It actually, in some ways, makes me think about the movie The Matrix, because you talked about the one-sidedness of so much of this. The first time I saw The Matrix, I was pretty blown away, as most people were. But in the opening minutes, you have one of your heroes, Trinity, kick the shit out of a bunch of cops.
Yeah.
But she's coded as one of the good guys, so it's very confusing. You're like, oh, one of the good guys just beat a bunch of cops to death? This is weird. And then, of course, it gets explained that because they're plugged into the Matrix, they're part of the system, albeit involuntarily. And it's a nice way to hand wave away the fact that this movie is going to have a ridiculously high body count of what would be good guys in 90% of movies. But philosophically, there's a point there. And it's something that I've tried not to be black-pilled on in dealing with basically anybody that works for any government agency anywhere. Like, are you just in the Matrix? At any moment, could you just turn into Agent Smith And then there's nothing I could do about it. I could just get arrested or whatever. But anyhow, back to this kid. The school did back off, as you pointed out. They had to. I think that's where, when you started out with the McMichaels thing, and you were going to tie it back around to the school did back off. And that is a win.
But there's still no consequences. Nobody lost their job or got prosecuted for committing a crime, for making this child a victim of a crime. Government agents caused harm to this child.
Yeah, without really knowing deep into the details of because you're talking about a federal law, so ergo a federal prosecution. I don't know that I want to live in a world where we're going to use the federal government to prosecute people for throwing them out of a classroom. Because that's, to really simplify things, that's part of what you're talking about here. And I don't know that I want to cross that line.
I'm totally comfortable with the government revoking the credentials of a government agent that abuses children.
The loss of licensure is a completely different thing, though we do bump into another thing that you and I have talked about a lot, that, you know, most professions shouldn't be licensed in the first damn place. So, but when we're talking about...
When you're talking about a teacher's credentials, that's a little different than licensure. But yeah. I mean, if you're a teacher and you abuse children, you should never be a teacher again. The teachers and administrators in this case abused this child. It's that simple.
Well, then we move into the next layer of the problem, though, the mens rea. What if, and I'm just saying, but what if A, the teacher did not believe they were abusing this child, or B, the teacher believed this child was causing abuse to be done to other children? Police officers don't ever want to kill a suspect. They want to bring all of the suspects in alive. They take them to jail, and the jail figures out what to do with them. But occasionally, they have a suspect that is so violent, they have no choice but to injure or even kill the suspect.
Correct.
And what if this teacher believed that this student was a big enough disruption where the lesser of two evils was to get the student out? You got the mens rea problem.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot to chew into here.
Too easy. Nuremberg. You want your mens rea problem? You want your mens rea problem? Too easy. The teacher... This teacher believes, if this teacher believes that they're doing the right thing by violating the law and abusing the child, then there is a greater problem with the teacher than simply the abuse that she's visiting on this child, right? This is someone who understands that Jews are dirty and they all need to be gassed. And so it's okay to do that because that's how it was explained to me. And that's what I understand. This person doesn't, so that person doesn't believe that what they're doing is wrong. And that is the mens rea issue. So you're talking about somebody who has been told, who has been brainwashed into believing that, you know, all heteronormative white men are an evil that must be removed from power in every place possible. The mens rea may not exist in this case, only because this person doctrinally believes that straight white men are the greatest evil to face the world.
Well, you're assuming that they knew they broke the law.
Ignorance of the law is not an excuse.
Well, I'm not saying that it is or it isn't, but based on what you just said, part of what you just said is that the teacher decided it was okay to break the law because.
Okay, I should rephrase that. The teacher believed that it was okay to take the explicit action. in all fairness, this teacher who doesn't know the difference between the Gadsden Flag, between the Revolutionary War and the Civil War, probably does not have an adequate civic education to understand that there are laws which can be broken. This is a person who believes that abortion should not be banned and doesn't understand that we don't need anti-abortion laws because murder is already illegal. All we need is enforcement mechanisms.
Okay. I will say this though. On just like purely like the part of me that like is red, white, and Keck. God, this kid is a legend.
Oh yeah, proud young Kekistani citizen.
I mean, woo, like I'm glad he won. I think this is hysterical. Like really, I think it's awesome. And I was just giving you pushback just to really explore the issue because I promise in Cameron's heart of hearts, this kid's already a winner. He's already gonna have like 8 children with a trad wife. Like it's. And good for him.
Okay, and Xander Max says the flip side is that they've now given themselves cover to fly any tranny or pride flag they want on campus. You know, I would have a little more interest in that argument if it were not the case that they already felt that they were justified in doing that. I don't want to go too far down this because I think we covered it before you popped up in the comments there, Alex. But basically the fact that the targeted censorship, that the targeted abuse is not content neutral, that's a very important factor in the legal analysis on this particular abuse. But it's also true that I don't believe for a moment that this school doesn't have Pride Progress flags flying in classrooms all over the campus.
Or at least the students. Maybe not in the classrooms, but you could just about 100% guarantee that some of the students, that you can buy the little pins where you can just display your pride.
Yeah, and if anybody's wearing a Pride Progress flag of any sort, then the censorship is not content neutral and thereby a total violation.
Hey, I just want to point it out real quick. Mitch had another glitch.
Yeah, Mitch had a glitch.
I sent you a thing.
I know, and I had kind of wanted to bring that up today, but we went deeper on this than I expected to, and now it's almost a quarter after, and I need to get to Kennesaw.
It's almost a dinner roll after.
Yeah. Oh God,
that is a deep inside joke.
I'm gonna have to go to an all-you-can-eat buffet to wash that stain off my soul again. Y'all be safe out there. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.